I I have this whole event. I hope it goes well for me. Planned for Remembrance Day 2024, inviting um, Prime Minister Trudeau and uh, possibly President Biden. Uh, if the elections go well for him, he may come outside the country. Not on Remembrance Day. Remembrance Day because. They would have their own official obligations. Maybe on the 14th of November, it happens to be my deceased father, since my 11th birthday on the 14th of November, and it might be a nice idea. And it would be possibly in for as a brunch, and hopefully the Mayor Cho Premier Ford can also join us. And I thought Minister Sajan, who is the Ministry for Emergency Preparedness in Canada, and he was a Minister of Defense, served in Afghanistan. So he could tell us a first-hand account of how it was in Afghanistan. And of course, Prime Minister Trudeau's, as always, much awaited speech on all these occasions. And so I'm hoping, and President Biden's, if things work out, I have this whole menu planned of the Allied forces, all their dishes from each of their, and an armed tanker cake, and if all goes well, Mayor Cho would have this roadblock, and I was thinking maybe because Prime Minister Trudeau's younger brother, the second youngest brother has passed away. This is very old hat before I think even his father passed away. Pierre Trudeau passed away, and he's a documentary filmmaker. So 10-minute movie on World War II would be nice, I thought, from him. And we have a plug point, and the speech would be on this side, on our side of the street, and it would head outside to the outside of the neighborhood. So that could be, significant, more going far and wide kind of a thing. So I hope it all goes well. We'll see. But I have nothing definite from anybody at this time, and this is my first poetry reading. This is my poem is titled "In Memory of Those Who Laid Their Lives for the Greater Good of Humanity." Gayatri B. Sitaram. It's inspired by W.B. Yeats, who spoke about three men in the memory of Major Robert Gregory, I think. Yeah, but it's a different poem. There's no relation at all. I never even just read the poem, was inspired by it. And acknowledgements. The book A Family of Brothers by J. Brent Wilson, soldiers of the 26th New Brunswick Battalion in the Great War. And the book is all about World War One, but I chose an excerpt on Canadian engineers from this book. And two, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Clary, head of the Royal Canadian Military Institute, Toronto. He gave me two websites, two Government of Canada websites, in response to my request, and then the veterans.gc.ca, the internet in general, and those are all the websites I've looked. I'll first read the poem, and then I have three excerpts which I'm going to just briefly touch upon after. I look outside the window, and I'm reminded of the preceding summer days, quite unlike the gloomy but warm outside. Fallen soldiers who served in wars, fought for the good to triumph over the evil, come to my mind. And I feel that in their time of need, God had deserted them. And while many of them perished, some of them returned home, wounded in battle, and others made merry, but were scarred by the horrors they had seen. The threat of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis and their invasion of countries willy nilly, and the persecution of Jews in Europe acted as a catalyst for Canada and its fighting sore forces with their fighting spirit. Soldiers from all races forgot their racial differences and fought as brothers in World War II. Elmer Cole of the 14th Army Tank Regiment Calgary spent 9 hours driving a Churchill tank at Dieppe on August 19, 1942. He battled the enemy forces against all odds in the face of enemy fire. He was captured by the Germans, who let him live in a prisoners of war camp. The Battle of Dieppe is a tale of courage and sacrifice, and if it is not a tale of victory for the Allied forces, it showed them their weaknesses and points to strengthen. George Wilkinson, from the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, was a private turned lieutenant colonel. 3 times he escaped in the nick of time. His replacements were injured in the botched Dieppe raid, the second captured in Sicily, and the third was captured on a reconnaissance mission in Europe. The man lived to tell his tale of how it hit him when he looked at all the cemeteries and he found in the first row 3 guys who were his buddies or names he knew. The indigenous and the black community fought as bravely and as patriotically as the white soldiers who were answering to their white commanding officers. Their unspoken plea, quote, damn the masters of war, unquote, propelled them into serving at the forefront, side by side with their white brethren. Oliver Milton Martin served both in the World War I and World War II. He was a Mohawk, come from his forefathers who had collected before Canada became a nation white scalps and had mellowed down from their fierce savage nature to fight organized battle. Martin commanded 13th Infantry Brigade as a colonel, while it underwent training at Niagara on the Lake from June 1940 to August 1941. The brigade was then sent to Vancouver Island over fears of a Japanese invasion after the attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii on 7th December 1941. The black man, forgetting his differences, fought to save the white race from complete control and suppression and possible extinction in the cry for an Aryan dominated population by Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. Junius Lyman Edward Hocken was likely the first black Canadian commissioned officer and fighter pilot in the Royal Canadian Air Force. Quote, Hockey, unquote, had excellent flying and navigational skills in the face of enemy attack. He flew the Spitfire, small planes with excellent firing capability. His technical background at St. Catherine's Technical School had him developing aircraft design from his flying experience. These were the few names that I chose to tell the tales of courage and bravery, and they and I would like to read excerpts from the book I mentioned, and I wanted to first say that I wanted East Indian soldiers representing Canada, but as Minister Harshit Sajjan, who fought as a lieutenant colonel, I believe, in Afghanistan and for Canada, but I couldn't find any names. The RCMI did not have any names offhand. Maybe they would have to look. And many times East Indians have a bad habit of going back, and settling in India. And the idea came to me because on PBS I was watching, and a Dominican soldier who said that he fought for America, that he and his pals fought for America, but they remained Dominican till the end. And this may be true of quite a few East Indians, I thought. So, anyways, Canadian engineers bridging the Canal del Escaut, and this comes from the Library of and Archives of Canada. There's a picture. They're all working at the building the bridge, and this is. I'll read a brief excerpt. We made the first bridge, which Fritz had partially demolished with a mine, protected the engineers while they repaired the gap. We then started for the second bridge, 200 yards ahead, but almost ran into our own barrage and had to draw back until it lifted. Then we went on. When we reached the end of the bridge, the Germans were running for the other end to blow their mine, but we got there first and had a dandy scrap for about half an hour. In the meantime, the engineers cut the wires to the mine. See, strategy. It was in that fight that I got hit. Sergeant Stevens of number one platoon came up then with more men, and the two sections managed to beat back three attempts of the Huns to retake the bridge. And this is more about the soldiers. And I had to make a comment. This is not what I was looking. The under for Black Canadians, Black volunteers also served with British forces farther away from home, including in the Royal Navy. Indeed, one such man, William Hall, would earn the Victoria Cross, the highest award for military valor, for his brave actions in India in 1857. This was a Sepoy mutiny. I grew up learning that the Sepoy Mutiny was what got out the Indian metal in their fight against the British. And this is at odds, but you know, different viewpoints in war. I have friends from the European end who in the Russia Ukraine because they grew up with Russian in the USSR in the Eastern Bloc with their loyalty towards the Russians, towards the Soviets, and they are pro-Russia and not pro-Ukraine, as most of the world. And so different points of view. And lastly, I wanted to read UFT labs, wartime production of gas gangrene and other serums. And of course, they made penicillin, and you can read more. And I think that is all I had to say. Yeah, and that was my poem. And I'll be coming back with the part two, a poem on uh, America joining World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor. All right, thank you.